All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another Thursday Night Football betting stream. Thursday Night Football. We also have some NBA. I don't know if you have any Sixers takes now that the witch is gone.
Yeah, I've got plenty of takes. I'll tell you that.
That we can get into. But as always, every Thursday we're joined by my good friend Dan. Every Thursday, Dan the man, Dagger Dan. Tonight we have Sackmaster Dan, which is very exciting. We did not get Sackmaster Dan last week, so it's nice for him to make another appearance.
You got to pick your spots. The Sackmaster studies the tape. I don't need all 22. I just need the guys, the hog mollies up front. That's all we need.
You just need vibes.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't have a sack, don't force a sack. That's what they always say.
That's what the Sackmaster tells you. I mean, look, I'm literally undefeated on the bets that I've won. So
that's crazy.
There's nowhere to go but up because we're not going down.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm not sure that logic is sound, but I'm going to roll with it anyways.
It sounds good on a Twitter profile, though.
That's true. That's true. Are you a big sweets guy? Halloween? I've eaten about 1,000 Starbursts in the past 48 hours. Like just a constant tummy ache. So I'm curious, are you a sweets guy, not a sweets guy?
I'm a sweets guy for the right sort of sweets. I have a huge aversion, maybe because I had braces as a youth, but I have a huge aversion to anything sticky to my teeth.
Okay.
Whether that's like, Starbursts,
Swedish
Skittles,
fish.
I Swedish fish, anything that's like a rainbow color variety. Hated Skittles growing up, not a fan.
Wow.
I really will. I'll dive into a Twix. I'll dive into a Snickers, but that's
so you're a chocolate candy kind of guy.
Yeah, I guess that's it. But I really try to stay away from it. So
yeah, I mean, someone that squats
it goes right to your hips, right to the ass, and that's fine. But I'd rather put the good kind of meat back there.
Sure. I was going to say someone that squats as much as you can't be dabbling that much candy.
I did it today. Just completely dominated my wife's gym. I mean, you want to see some dejected male faces. You come watch.
It's people watching you squat at the gym.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, how does he do it?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, for me, I'm just trying to get all the candy out of the house. So I took it upon myself to have about 1,000 Starburst. It's going well. I feel great. My teeth feel great. Everything's fine.
Good.
But all right, enough of that. We can get into Thursday Night Football. Little sneak preview of Week 9, the slop fest we have at quarterback tonight. We have Will Levis, Bananarama, Mr. Mayo Man himself, versus Kenny Pickett, possibly with healthy ribs, possibly without healthy ribs. We'll just have to see. We'll start with the main lines here. As you can see, Titans +3 pretty much anywhere. Anywhere you can get it, they're at +3. Or if you want to buy some juice, you can get the Steelers at -2.5, -122 at Sporttrade. Dan, we'll start with you, obviously, because there's no one else here. What else do we have for the main lines? Excuse me.
Yeah. So here's the justification for what I'm thinking. Short week, obviously, right? Kenny Pickett is injured. Will Levis has played one game, and it was 4 days ago. So both quarterbacks in that line of thinking are compromised. I know people are excited about Will Levis. I know the metrics, the advanced quarterback stats were not particularly kind to him, but I do think it gives you something with his legs. I think it gives the Titans a little bit of juice. They're 11th defensively in DVOA, and on the other side, the Steelers offense much maligned, right? Everybody hates Matt Canada.
To interrupt you real quick, did you hear that Matt Canada is going to be on the sideline now instead of in the press box? So
that's a big thing. I mean, back in the days where I was actually playing football, I mean, the big thing was if you were a real coordinator, you got your ass out of the box. You got him onto the field.
Like a Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, hey, a guy's got Kyle Shanahan's number and no one else's.
So that's true. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, that's great for him. That offense is trash. 23rd overall in DVOA, 9th in defensive DVOA. So to me, it's, do you believe more in Mike Vrabel's ability to get his guys up on the road in a short week in a spot where they're underdogs? Or do you believe in Matt Canada's ability to scheme something up in 3 days? That to me feels pretty obvious. Minka Fitzpatrick is out, and the Steelers play Patrick Peterson, who's my age, all the time. So not only do I kind of like Titans +2.5 at plus money at Sporttrade, but honestly, I like them to just win outright better. So +141. Give me the Titans outright. I know the market is moving away from that too. It's moving towards the Steelers. Last time I looked, so it's a CLV loss. So the CLV losers out there will say this is a bad bet, but I've actually watched the Steelers play football, and they're not good. And guess what? The Titans aren't either. But the Steelers are worse.
Yeah, I feel like these two teams to me is like the Spider-Man meme where they don't have a good quarterback. They don't really have a good team, but they just somehow find ways to win. Like the Steelers were 4-2, I think, 4-2 heading into last week, and they lost. Now they're 4-3. The Titans, not as much this year, but I mean, we're the 1 seed 2 years ago. They were 7-2 or 7-3 last year before Tannehill got hurt, but they're not good. The Steelers, the way they beat the Browns, the way they beat the Ravens, it's like they have no business winning. But I agree with you. I don't have. No, go ahead.
Yeah, it just feels like one team has played above its head the entire year, and the other team has played below its level. It just feels like the Steelers have exceeded expectations, and the Titans have not.
Yeah,
and
I mean that's fair.
Yeah, and that's just kind of here we are. Like I'm actually happy Will Levis is playing because Tannehill was such a boner.
Yeah, he was terrible. Yeah,
yeah. So I actually think the Titans' ceiling is so much higher now, and they're actually willing to take shots. I mean, they may take 4 shots, and if they hit 2 of them, or they take 5 shots and hit 2 of them, or 1 of them, I could change the entire game, especially for the total.
Yeah, and it opens things up for Derrick Henry, who had one of his best games of the year last game. I don't think that's a coincidence. Granted, they were winning, so they were using him more, but still, at least some threat of passing it.
Well, Cam Hayward back for the Steelers. We don't know exactly how many snaps he's going to play, but that could conceivably help them against Derrick Henry in a run offense.
True.
But again, Will Levis just gives you more juice, and that secondary is trash. So
yeah, and he's willing to chuck it, and sometimes. DeAndre Hopkins comes down with 3 touchdowns, and then they have another deep one. I think it goes to Treylon Burks or Westbrook-Ikine. I can't remember the fourth one. It wasn't Westbrook-Ikine, yeah. And even like Chigokonkwo hasn't done anything this year, but I kind of liked what I saw from him just in terms of like not necessarily efficiency, just explosiveness. I really don't know what to expect. I mean, I agree with you. If I had to choose, I would take the Titans. I don't have anything on any of the main lines, just to be completely honest. Like this could be a 3-0 Thursday night football clunker, or it could be a 33-30 Thursday night football. Like everyone's wondering what the heck is happening. Like I really don't have a good feel for that. It's not great when the biggest unknown in the game is the quarterback for both teams. That's generally not a good sign, I would say.
That tracks.
Yeah. It's just pick it healthy. Is Will Levis even good? The one thing that gives me faith in not necessarily the Steelers winning, but if they're going to have success, it's going to be through the air because that's how you beat the Titans. Titans 25th ranked passing defense and the second ranked passing or rushing defense, excuse me. So you have to win by throwing it. Does Pickett have a rib to throw it? Like, is he going to be healthy enough? I don't know. If he gets hit, is he even going to last the whole game? So who knows? And then I agree with you on the Titan side with Fitzpatrick out. They got diced up. Granted, Trevor Lawrence is good and Will Levis, the jury's out, but they got diced up when Minkah Fitzpatrick was out. So I think I like the over more than I like anything. But yeah, I agree. If I had to choose, I would probably take the Titans. Because what if Will Levis is just good? I mean, that's also
what if he's average?
Or yeah, fair. Yeah.
Like what if he's average? The total is 36.5.
Yeah.
Like
it's disgusting.
20 to 17 gets us home. What if he's just fine?
Yeah.
Like, that's all he has to be. I like the over here for all those reasons. I mean, I think Will Levis gives them juice. I think the guys that they're playing in the secondary are reprehensible for Pittsburgh. The Titans defense, I think, is pretty misleading. They're 9th in DVOA, but they don't force turnovers. They have the lowest turnover percentage in the National Football League. They allow scores on the 5th highest percentage of drives, and they don't pressure the quarterback. They're the 4th lowest pressure rate. So
not great.
Take all that into account. You have an injured Kenny Pickett, who they're probably going to max protect, right? Because he's not going to be mobile. He's going to be wearing a flak jacket. He's not going to be moving around against a defense that doesn't really pressure you anyway. And I think the Titans are going to have explosive plays because they have a quarterback who's willing to make stuff happen off schedule, which they weren't getting with Ryan Tannehill. So again, 20 to 17 gets us home. 36.5 is super low. It's at -111 at Sporttrade. I've already bet it.
As you were talking, if you noticed me fumbling around on my phone, that was me logging on the Sporttrade on my phone and betting it because I said I did not have anything on the main lines. Now I do. I put 1 unit on the over. It was -113, so it just moved a minor 2 cents.
Beautiful.
But for those of you that watch my video, those cents matter, right? 4 cents, 4 inches, all that stuff matters. So
I'm gonna leave that
with you. I have to get one kind of joke like that you just brush off immediately every live stream. So now
look, I'm not some prude. All right. I get the genitalia jokes more than anybody, but I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, I mean, you're a professional, as my mom noted. You're a professional.
She did. Did she watch last weekend?
I don't know if she did. She did comment on my Eagles Cowboys betting preview. She changed her username to Jedi Mom, so we'll know exactly who she is, which I love.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
great.
My mother has never been on YouTube in her entire life.
So. Well, that was the case until about 4 months ago for my mom as well. So yeah. She's got it. Sure. Got to support her son. I respect it.
There you
go. All right. Anything left on the main lines? Money line, spread, total? Are you good to go?
Nope. I like the Titans money line. I like the over.
All right, let's move on. Player props. I have 3 that I like. 2 of them of the pumped up variety, and then one of them just a regular old main line. But everybody's clamoring for the Sackmaster to speak, so I'm certainly not going to start with my player props. We'll let the Sackmaster go.
Num. Here we go. Obvious one tonight. Again, we said at the top, I've never lost a single bet that I've won.
Never lost.
Specifically in this market. The Sackmaster doesn't lose. So we're going to start here with an easy one. Harold Landry, good at pass rushing. 3 sacks his last 3 games. As we mentioned, the Steelers' offensive line has been terrible for like 4 years in a row. I don't know how they continue to let that happen. But Landry's getting home against much better units. He's plus 190 for a sack at Barstool for a full sack and plus 165 for a half sack.
Wow.
That's obvious. That's at DraftKings. And there's a ton of value here because everyone else who's offering a half sack, there's 5 of the books offering a half sack, are at plus 160. Excuse me, for a full sack. Plus 160 for a full sack. He's plus 165 for a half. So
sorry, and that's at DraftKings, the half one.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's DraftKings. I really like that. And you're probably thinking, hey, TJ Watt plays for the other team, and the offensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans is not playing. Chris Hubbard has a concussion. He's out. Last week, they moved Nicholas Petit-Frere to left tackle because Andre Dillard sucks, as we know as Eagles fans.
Yes.
But because of the concussion, he had to go play right tackle. So you're going to get Andre Dillard against TJ Watt. So you're probably thinking, hey, great spot for TJ Watt. He's minus 166 to get a sack. That's insane.
Crazy.
That's like
crazy.
A 64% chance to get a sack. That's wild. But he's plus 130 to go under. And if I know anything about Mike Vrabel, it's that he's a top 5 coach. And they're not just going to throw Andre Dillard out there without any help with a rookie quarterback making his 2nd career start behind him. They're going to chip. They're going to do everything they can to keep TJ Watt out of Will Levis's face. You're probably going to see a lot of quick game, not a lot of long dropbacks. Again, those explosives are going to have to come off of broken plays, I think. So I think it's conceivable that he does not get a full sack. Maybe he gets home once and shares it. Fingers crossed. Plus 130 for that. So I'm on plus 130 for under a full sack for TJ Watt and plus 165 for Harold Landry to have a half sack tonight.
I like it. The beauty of 2+ money plays is even though you're going to go 2-0, that's going to happen. If something crazy happens and you somehow go 1-1, you're still making money.
Yeah, we're tape grinders over here. We're tape monsters.
Yeah,
we just suck it up every single night. We suck it up. We suck it down.
Yep.
And there you have it.
Yeah. Serious question. TJ Watt, I thought he lines up on the other side, off the right tackle. Is that not the case, or does he switch off?
No, he rushes off right side, the right side of the offense. So Andre Dillard was playing left. He was benched. Now he's playing.
Oh, that's right.
Duh,
you're right. You're right. I missed that. I have him left tackle in my brain because remember, like he played a half at right tackle and then refused. It was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it.
It's hard to switch. It's really hard to switch.
Someone said it's like wiping with your opposite hand. So when you put it in that perspective, it does seem.
I think people could handle it.
Another question, serious question. On FanDuel, do you know? So player to record a sack, TJ Watt to not record a sack is plus 152. But does that?
Is it?
Would a half sack count for that? Do you know?
No. I mean, to not record a sack, I assume it would be zeros.
Yeah,
let me hold on. Let me go find the market because that was not available when I did this.
Actually, it might be half sacks included. To record a sack would grade as a winner. Okay, so it is a half sack does count.
Okay. So then I didn't see that, so I didn't get the value there.
Well, we have yeah. I mean, sorry. So if you took TJ Watt to not record a sack and he got a half sack, you would lose that one. Whereas on DraftKings, if you got a half sack, you would win, but the odds are worse. So it just depends on.
So the one at FanDuel is for a full sack, so he can get a half sack and he would still win. Excuse me, on DraftKings.
Yeah, on DraftKings, correct. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So okay. All right. So my 2 pumped up props. The first one I admittedly feel a little bit more nervous about. It's also the more long shot odds, so that kind of makes sense. But it's Will Levis 250 plus passing yards. If this just bombs away like it was last week, and the Steelers do what I think they do, and they're just going to aggressively try to shut down Derrick Henry. Like, he went over for 100 last week. I feel like the Steelers are going to say, you know what, Banana Man, Mr. Mayo, do it twice in a week. They're gonna stack the box, and they're gonna make him do it twice a week. And the Steelers defense, from like a DVOA perspective, is pretty good, both rushing and passing. But just raw stats, they give up 245 passing yards per game, and this is with Fitzpatrick playing the first 6.5 games that they played, which is 24th ranked, 245 passing yards, 7.1 yards per attempt, and 12.7 yards per completion. That's last. That yards per completion is dead last. So I think without Fitzpatrick, they do have some explosive weapons. Sneakily, it's like, this all of a sudden, when you have a quarterback that throws it, the Titans receivers look a lot better with Hopkins and Burks and Okonkwo, and even Westbrook-Akine kind of flashes. So it's Will Levis 250 plus passing yards. It's plus 320 at DraftKings. That's my first one. My second one is Pickens 80 plus receiving yards. He's a boomer bust receiver. Last week, I think he had 5 targets and only had 1 reception, and that was a touchdown. 14 targets went to Deontay Johnson in his second game back from a hamstring injury. To me, that seems like an outlier that he's getting 14 targets. I think it's going to even out. And the thing I like about Pickens is he's a deep threat, or can take a slant to the house. I mentioned already that the Titans struggle against the pass. 25th ranked passing defense, 2nd ranked rushing defense. They also, all raw stats are bad in terms of passes. So Pickens for 80 plus yards. I went with him last week, and he didn't come through. It was a bad game. Hopefully the pendulum swings the opposite way. And then my last one, just a straight up main line, Kenny Pickett under 20.5 completions. It's minus 120 at BetMGM, so a little bit juiced. He literally hasn't hit this since week 1. Wow. And like with the hurt rib, this is not going to be a situation where he's going to be an efficient passer, like a Joe Montana, slowly dinking and dunking it down the field. If anything, it's going to be the opposite. He's probably going to be inaccurate. He's probably going to go deep a lot, I would guess. So I'll bite the juice and get the minus 120 for under 20.5. Facebook. FanDuel had that at 19.5. Caesars had it at 19.5. And that's like a huge deal going from 1 when the numbers are that low. Mm-hmm. So those are my 3 player props. Do you have anything else? Go ahead. Yeah,
I don't. I was going to say, you know what prop I've actually really enjoyed this year is Bet365 is posting how many second half attempts a quarterback will have. And that's based purely upon what happens in the first half. And it's great. Last week, I want to say Josh Allen threw 17 first half passes, and the line was like, will he throw? No, excuse me. It was Baker Mayfield threw 20 first half passes. They were losing, and the line came out on Bet365. Will he throw 17.5 over under? And they were in a trail position, and they can't run the ball. And it was like minus 110. Just absolutely gobbled it up. I mean, he ended up throwing the ball.
So you live bet it, right? You do it at halftime. For sure. Yeah. Okay.
Got it. Yeah. Halftime live bet. Yeah. And shout out to Drew Dinsick, the whale capper, tipped me off to it. Nice. Yeah. It's just tons of value there. I mean, it was minus 110. Clear game script was indicating that they had to throw the ball. And also, if you have watched them, they're the least efficient offensive rushing attack in the National Football League. There was no chance that wasn't going to hit. So,
yeah, I like
it. So, something to keep your eye out tonight.
Sure.
Especially because the Steelers also can't run the ball. So if they're in a trail position at home, something to look out for at halftime.
Comment here, Justin, credible fantasy. Thoughts on Pickett over 217 passing yards. I haven't looked a lot into him specifically. Just off my initial thoughts, I probably would guess he'd go over that. Just because everything we've talked about the Titans being good against the run, being bad against the pass. So yeah, I don't know if Dan, if you have any different thoughts, but I kind of lean towards the over there.
No, I like it. Again, you just think about how inefficient the Steelers have been from a rushing perspective. If the Titans get up early, they're going to have to throw the football. Only because, I mean, Najee Harris has been incredibly inefficient, and Jaylen Warren, despite the fantasy community loving him, has really not been that efficient either.
I think they love him because he's not Najee Harris. It's like
that could be true. I mean, hey, I drafted him. Nobody cares. I drafted him. But yeah, no, I agree. And it's like incredibly frustrating. I thought coming out of the bye, they were going to say, okay, enough's enough. Like, let's get a receiving back out there. Let's try to do some different things. And they just didn't. They doubled down on Najee.
And he's like AJ Dillon, where when you watch him run, it's like
Yeah.
he's in slow motion compared to everybody
Right.
else. And he was so good coming out of Alabama. I don't know if he's just like I know he had a bunch of nagging stuff his first 2 years. Maybe it's just taking its toll. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he just physically looks totally washed.
I
And
mean,
then
the Packers are going to drive AJ Dillon to the Schwalbenau Airport. They cannot wait to get him
oh
off
yeah,
their team.
yeah. And the other guy, Aaron Jones, has like hamstring issues all year. I mean, yeah, not a Packers show. They look like a train wreck. Henry, I'm guessing the 81 rushing yards has got to be like a juiced in terms of odds, because I see his main line at 72 or 73.5. I would lean towards him going under. If I'm on Will Levis passing for 250, it just only makes sense that Henry is not rushing for a ton. I think again, the Steelers, I mean, Henry might get 20 carries, but he might average 2 yards per carry on those because the Steelers just stack the box and dare Will Levis to beat him. So for Henry, I'd probably lean the under.
Yeah, I think 81 is a good number. He's been super hit or miss. I feel like he either rushes for 120 or he doesn't get anywhere close to it. So
yeah,
I don't
it's
have a great read on it.
basically, are the Titans winning the whole game or are they not? That's literally
it's true.
the only difference.
Right.
So cool. All right. Anything left on this game, or are you good to move on?
Nope, we're good.
Cool. All right. So NFL Sunday, we have 2 good games: Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Bengals. We have a ton of slop. Shout out to Slop himself. I'm not sure that's what he is thinking of when he nicknames himself Slop, but that's what we have for Sunday. So we'll start with that. We'll start with the slop. I think you said there are 4 games with the over-under at like 35, 36 number, something like that.
Yeah. And we just talked about one of them. I mean, you've got Taylor Heineke against Jaron Hall. You've got Clayton Tune against PJ Walker. Daniel Jones against Aiden O'Connell. Jordan Love against Brett Rippon. I mean, Matt Stafford didn't practice again today. That's over a quarter. That's over a quarter of the league. This is an epidemic. I mean,
some of those names
terrible.
Is like, it's those like joke TikToks where it's like you name a bunch of players to your significant other, doesn't care about sports. And it's like, name which one of these isn't a real NFL player. Like Jaron Hall, Brett Rippon. I know Brett Rippon, son of a legend. They don't sound like real people.
People under our age don't know that.
Yeah, I only knew that because the one game he started. I think it was the Broncos.
It's disgusting. I mean, people complain about the state of football as is. I mean, they might as well just play flag football, because now a quarter of the reputable quarterbacks are hurt, and they protect them ad nauseum. So I don't know what they do. This is going to be horrible football. People have been tweeting all day. They're like, "What an amazing weekend of football we have this weekend." We start in Germany with the Chiefs and the Dolphins, and then we've got the Seahawks and the Ravens, then the Eagles and the Cowboys, and it's like, it's like buying a cake with amazing frosting on it, and the rest of the cake is complete shit. Like, that's basically what it is. We are covering it with a nice topsoil of goodness, and then the foundation is awful.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just not a red zone Sunday. Maybe you just stick to the games and you don't bother doing red zone.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'll be at a 1-year-old birthday party, so I'll be not locked in. Thankfully, good weekend for it.
Will you be back by 4:25 Eastern?
I'll be in the car. We'll have Merle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Merle Reese. We'll have Merle Reese.
Merle. Yeah. It's a little tough, but you got dad life. Got to do what you got to do.
Got to do.
Yeah. Do you have any specific thoughts on the games, or just wanted to point out the fact that it's going to be total slop fest on Sunday?
I can't. So many of these guys hadn't even played. I mean, we talked about the game tonight. Jaron Hall, I've never even seen. Clayton Tune's a rookie. PJ Walker's been bad. Aiden O'Connell has seen spot action twice. Brett Rippon came in the halfway through the third quarter, and the Rams did nothing. Jordan Love has been terrible.
Yeah, he's been awful.
I mean, but these totals are so unbelievably low. I think there's stayaways. I mean, I feel like, and the coaching staff too, like, take the coaching staffs into consideration here too. It's not just the quarterbacks. Like, a lot of these coaching staffs were like, Aiden O'Connell's being thrown to the wolves, I think.
Yeah.
Like, Antonio Pierce is now the head coach. Like,
they're
elevating guys who have never put a game plan together to be their offensive coordinator on a short week. I mean, Jaron Hall, we've never even seen. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson. They just traded their starting guard. Like, these situations are bad.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding all these games.
I think the Raiders win straight up. I don't think you can put a price on not having Josh McDaniels coach your football team anymore. So I think by that sheer situation alone, they are going. And I mean, Devontae Adams, is he going to get 20, 25, 30 targets? Like,
Shit, he better. I mean, are you in on this trend, right? That I know we don't like trends on the program. But are
yeah.
you in on this trend that the first interim coach bump? Like Jeff Saturday went 1-0 last year,
Jeff Saturday. I remember, I'll never forget. This was, I think, back when I was in like right around when I graduated from college, but Philbin got fired from the Dolphins. I think Dan Campbell took over. Their first game, they won like 43-0. And everybody was like, see what happens when you have a bad coach get out of the way. And then it was the same thing with the Colts last year. They didn't do anything the rest of the year. So yes, to answer your question, I am absolutely buying it.
Okay. I'll get stats and info on it real quick. I'm curious if what like first interim coach first game record is.
I know that Pat Shurmur went 1-0 as the interim coach for the Eagles when they fired Chip Kelly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah, it's a good question. I know anecdotally, it seems to be like the team with the interim coach in their first game plays well. I mean, 2 years ago, the Raiders made the playoffs with Bisaccia.
Right. Rich Bisaccia.
Yeah.
So what I've got here is this is only through 2020. But through 2020, 14-9 straight up.
And I'm guessing they're probably underdogs, the majority of them. They had to have been.
Yes, most of them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I don't know what against the spread, but yeah, I mean, I think the Raiders are going to win against the Giants.
Okay.
Deontay Johnson under 9 targets, probably. He got 14 last week. I don't think necessarily like it's just he's not going to be someone that demands targets. He is more of a possession receiver, admittedly, but if you can find a market that lets you bet on targets, that would be interesting. I'm guessing
that'd be pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that. But all right, now to talk about the good games. We'll start with our Eagles versus the Cowboys. Huge game. Looking like possibly going to have a rookie right guard. Tyler Steen was taking first team snaps. Juergens was still limited.
Yeah.
Last I checked, I haven't checked in a little bit on the spread. The Eagles were pretty much across the board -3.
Yeah.
Is that still
3.5? 3.5 at Sporttrade. Plus 115 though.
So. Okay, so it moved. Okay, yeah. So last time I checked, I think it was the Eagles -2.5. Everybody else was at 3. Now it moved up. Eagles -3.5. Everybody at Sporttrade's hammering the birds. And then the total seems to be between 46.5, 47, depending on where you look. I think the Eagles win and cover.
Wow.
I think the Cowboys are good.
Yeah, sorry. Quick update. Birds -2.5 now at Sporttrade.
Okay, so it moved back. Yeah. I mean, I did a betting preview of it earlier in the week. I think they win and cover. I don't know if I might be putting too much stock into this. It seems like their defense plays better. It's like the inverse of Gannon, where they would smoke terrible teams and they would get smoked by above average quarterbacks. Like Dak Prescott hung 40 on them in like 3 games he played against Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
The 2 good quarterbacks that Desai has seen, Kirk Cousins, they did pretty well the majority of the game. And then like the fourth quarter, they kind of let him come back and really good against Matt Stafford, really good against Tua. Mac Jones looked good. Sam Howell looked like Tom Brady. So by that logic, they're going to make Dak Prescott look bad. Or if you're a Dallas hater and you never thought Dak was good, you could say if he plays good against the Eagles, it's because he's a bad quarterback. So it's really a win-win.
Wow. Tough to follow that one. I felt like this game hasn't been close in forever. So I looked it up and I was pretty spot on. So last year it was a 6-point game, but prior to that, there has not been a single Eagles Cowboys game within 7 points, 8 points actually, since December of 2018. 7 of the last 8 games have been decided by 8 or more points. I think the Cowboys, yeah, I wouldn't have thought it, right? But I mean, massive blowouts. I mean, the Cowboys hung 52 on the Eagles 2 years ago. Do you remember that game?
Yes, only because
I had to go back and look.
Wait. So was it week 18 2 years ago? Because the Eagles, they rested all their starters. So that one doesn't count. But
I'm just saying, like, and even when they're not playing, I mean, they scored 40 last year. They scored 37 the year before, 52 2 years ago. Like the Cowboys are putting up numbers on the birds.
They are.
And I think offensively, nobody needed a bye more than Mike McCarthy. Like their offense was struggling. They couldn't get Tony Pollard going at all. I mean, Yeah, they came out and boat raced the Rams last week, but their passing offense was crisp. I mean, Dak Prescott threw 3 touchdowns in the first half, and they were motoring. Uh, and again, the Eagles bad defensively. I mean, they're still getting home, right? 25 sacks in the year. It's top 5 in the NFL. And typically you would say, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like their passing defense statistically would be bad because they're 7-1. They're getting ahead of opponents, and opponents are having to throw to get back into the games. No, opponents are throwing on them because they're bad.
Yeah.
Like that's how you move the football against them. So 46.5 is the total. I think is extremely gettable. That's at Sporttrade right now for -106. I jumped on that earlier today. 46.5 to me is too low, I think.
I agree. I'm on the over. I'm on the over as well. My official plays were the over and Eagles Eagles -3. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was one game where if Mike McCarthy comes out off a bye with a good game plan, that's fine. I don't necessarily think that's going to be something that's going to happen week over week. Now, if their game plan was, hey, CeeDee Lamb's pretty good, let's just give him a bunch of targets, that actually might work.
That actually scares me more.
Yeah, fair. That's totally fair. I mean, CeeDee Lamb killed them last year in the game that the Christmas game where they lost when Gardner Minshew started. Yeah, I mean, Hurts is 0-3 against Dak in his career. He's yet to beat him. And granted, I don't know, it's a small sample size. Hurts versus Dak never happened last year. Right. So I guess it must be 0-2. Maybe that 0-3 is an incorrect stat.
Yeah, I saw today he was actually 0-1, I think.
Okay, so whoever said 0-3, I must have misread that. I know Dak himself has a good record against the Eagles in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe I'm putting too much stock into them having good games against good quarterbacks, and that's just more that's not necessarily something you can project moving forward. I think Hurts looks really good despite the fact that he's clearly injured. He's been awesome as a passer the past 2 weeks. And Tyron Smith is most likely not going to play. He hasn't been practicing. They hoped he could practice today and he didn't. That's like a huge deal. So we'll see. I mean, it's murderer's row of opponents for the Eagles. This would be massive if they got a win this week. It would be huge. Not only would they have the one win over them, they would have 2 fewer losses than them. And that's just banking a win when your schedule is going to be really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, my last point on the total here is both these offenses are really good too, right? So like if either team jumps out to a big lead, the other team is more than capable of coming back immediately.
Yeah.
I love that. No, and you're right. I mean, in real football, not just outside of betting, it's a huge game for both teams. Like Cowboys win puts them in really good position for the 1, honestly.
The difference between being the 1 seed or the 5 seed, it's huge.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So you're on the over. I'm on the Eagles and the over as well. Next up, we got Bills versus Bengals. I don't have a ton of analysis for this one other than I like the Bengals. I think that they're like Burrow's clearly healthy. That Caffey looked great against the 49ers last week. I've never trusted the Bills. And last week, I mean, what a coward performance from Sean McDermott. Dude, just go for it on one of those 3 4th down opportunities and the game's over. It was the weirdest thing how I can't think of the word, but like unaggressive he was, whatever the word for unaggressive is. Passive. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm not great with words. Good thing I don't talk for a living or anything.
Just bets.
Yeah. There you go.
No, I totally agree. We were live streaming an over position, and we were pulling our hair out. It was really frustrating. And of course, 42.5 is where the market settled and ended up at 42.
Of course.
Yeah. I look at the mental makeup of both these teams, and I think a lot of people have made this point now, and you were on this, you sniffed this out like a drug dog, is that the Bills roster is atrophied in a big way. And Josh Allen is raising their ceiling, but the Bengals are really good. And I think they've got their number a little bit. I think that they are mentally tough. They're at home. They don't even have to go to Buffalo. Buffalo has shown on the road they're kind of like okay, so and you can get this for under 3. I mean, it's -2 at most places right now. It's 2.5 at Sporttrade at plus money 104. But if you didn't want to have that extra half point, you can get this at 2 everywhere. I mean, you're giving me the Bengals at home against a team I know they are tougher than mentally, physically.
Yeah,
and I get them under 3. Like I agree with you. I'm on the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the 2.5 for plus money. It's plus 102 at Sporttrade. I will take a CLVW on, it was either Sunday night or Monday morning, right when lines were posted. I got the Bengals. If I need to go through my notes at a really good price. Just straight up money line, straight up. If you can bear with me for a second, this is great podcasting. Sure. I can find it.
Yeah, we'll cut this out in post. Don't worry about it.
-112 is what I got the Bengals out. Now they're Sporttrade -125. That's the best price you're going to get on them. I would still take. I mean, at this point, I'll take the spread, and I totally agree with you. Give me the 2.5 that they can win by a field goal. Burrow looks great. I love their defensive coordinator. He just seems to have a different game plan depending on the offense. Yeah, Lou Amarillo.
You're close.
Armadillo, something like that.
Yeah, Lou Armadillo.
Yeah, that's his name.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think he's a great defensive coordinator. I love that. I really like a defense that there's like two schools of thought. It's like the old Seahawks method, which is like, hey, this is what we do, beat it. And then there's the total opposite is the Bengals defensive coordinator.
So, I mean, you talk about a defensive coordinator that can lull Josh Allen to sleep and force him into mistakes. I'm going to try to find it. I would love to know what an Allen interception is going for this week, because I think you could set your watch to it.
If they have, sometimes they don't have player props out. Normally don't post till Friday, but let's find out.
Let's see. Player interceptions. I got it pulled up here. If it would load.
-158.
Wow. Okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, I've got Bet Rivers at -152 here in New Jersey. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so everyone's thinking the same thing, I guess.
That is
not a lot of value there.
Horribly. I mean, imagine being that good of a quarterback and then having that be your interception odds. That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other takes you got for football? Any takes you got for NBA? Any life takes? What do you got for us? Anything?
Now, you know what I was thinking? We were talking about on our Sunday show, The Witching Hour, about you wanting to do a very interesting show idea. I'm not going to share it live here, but I was thinking, what would be an interesting segment for us potentially on Thursdays? And I was thinking, what if we did like, Ryan Russillo does life advice. Everyone loves it. I love that show. What if we did like nerd advice or like being in your 30s advice? Like, I feel like your fan base is 30 and under. They could ask us questions about what it's like getting old.
That's true. Yeah. We'll just
put out the call on Tuesday for your questions about getting old or your experiences about aging. And we could just tackle them in an honest way.
I like it. That's a great. I mean, I love a good segment, something that the people can look forward to every day.
Sure.
Maybe we'll have to clip that, put it in podcast form, totally steal Ryan Russillo's thunder.
But yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, that's a full life advice. You're covering your entire gamut. I don't have the experience to opine about that, but I can tell you what it's like being in your mid-30s.
I could tell you what it's like turning 30 and then realizing you're in your 30s and then feeling it. Yeah, I could do that. I could also give some nerd advice. I wouldn't put myself as like peak nerd. There's a lot of nerdier people out there than me.
Everyone's a nerd about something though, right? Like I'm a bourbon nerd. Like when my wife goes to book club tonight, guess what I'm doing? Dad's
Drinking
watching
bourbon.
Thursday Night Football and having a bourbon or two. Okay. Like that's how I get down. That's how I jam.
Yeah. I mean, the testosterone coming just pouring out of your body. You just have to meet that by drinking bourbon and squatting.
I mean, you heard my kid earlier. You know what I'm capable of. Okay.
All right, we'll end it with that. So yeah, I like it. We'll put out the call. 30. What's it like to be 30? Advice. I'm sure that's not going to be depressing at all.
We can think of a better hook than that. What if it's like, life after 30 or life after 20s advice?
Life after 20s advice.
Send your questions about life after 20. I feel like I know you have your finger on the pulse of your demo. So I assume a lot of your peeps are in their 20s. So send your questions about what life is like, or if you need advice about being in your 20s. We just made it out. We just graduated.
You know how I know that my audience is a little bit younger is that they call the couch behind me the casting couch, which not everybody would understand that reference.
Okay, so they are older. Okay.
Yeah.
Or they're perverts.
Or that. I don't even understand it, to be honest with you. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You don't have to lie to them. You don't have to lie to them.
All right, last question, then we can head on out of here. Thoughts on Levis today? I think we've covered it a little bit. I think both and I are on board that he's going to have a good game. I like him 250
I'm on the Titans money line, so
yeah, I like him 250 plus passing yards. So all right, first question of life after 30.
I love it. Justin, thank you. This is amazing. No, let's talk about it. No, let's seriously. I want to talk about this. Okay, I had this thought the other day. Again, meathead. Like Matt talks about being a nerd. I'm a meathead. I don't apologize for it. I have never been stronger my entire life. Now, maybe this is a dad strength thing. I don't know. I had a kid 18 months ago. I've never been stronger my entire life. I've been lifting weights since I was 12. Okay.
Sick,
I
Brad.
have never, thanks. And I've never been stronger than I am at 34. I can't explain it. I don't really do anything different. My diet is terrible because I have a young kid who's up all hours of the night. Can't explain it. So to answer your question, I feel like I'm in my prime right now.
I don't feel that way. I think I'm still trying to figure it out. I will say my cousin who lives in Colorado with me is 2 years older, so he's right around your age.
Okay.
Because I'm 31, he's a 90. I think what you're 89, whatever.
Yep.
He is a single man. He said he's never had better luck with the ladies than he's currently having, and he
Believe
thinks
it. I totally believe it.
that he's at his most attractive at his roughly mid 30s age because he's got a little bit of the older dad look, and the ladies are digging it. So I think that you could be onto something here. I still can feel how unathletic I am compared to like 4 years ago when I was playing organized sports, and I'm not quite over that.
But don't you feel like you're smarter now? Like I wish I had like
Sure.
just take like pick up hoops, for example, right? Like where to stand, how to move, where to set screens, like if how to play with certain guys. Like if I knew that when I was 21, I would have played a ton more pickup. Not even just that, like in anything. Like obviously you're wiser. You wish you can go back and do all those things. Like to that point, your cousin's point, I remember I was dating somebody in my mid 20s, and I was even like, I can't wait to be like 28, 29. I'm going to be so much more attractive. And she was like, what? And I was like, no, I'm sure we'll be fine. We broke up. But like, that's how I felt. I was 250 pounds in high school as a football player. Like
Yikes.
not peak, not
Yeah.
peak sack master. Right. So like, yeah, I totally feel like, and you become much more comfortable with who you are. You understand who you are. You don't give a shit about what other people think about you anymore.
That's the
like
biggest thing.
Biggest thing. Yeah. You no longer give a fuck about what people think about you or like anything. Cause you have so many other things in your 20s. Like, oh, perfect. Can you put that on
Yeah.
on the screen there? Perfect, Justin. 22 years old. When I was 22, I was a booze hound. I was living in Green Bay, Wisconsin at 22, thinking, you're on TV, you're like hot stuff, right? And all you do is you spend all day worrying about what other people think about you. That's all you ever do because it's a madhouse. You're like, oh, I'm going drinking Monday Night Football. I'm watching football. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like, what are we doing? We're going out. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're trying to meet women. We're trying to do this. Like it's you can't focus on anything when you're in that mindset.
Yeah. I in college was too embarrassed to tell people that I still play Pokemon. I clearly am not still too embarrassed to tell people that now. Because in college you just want to be cool, and that was like I was like only told my close friends who I knew wouldn't care. I was like horrified, not actually horrified, but also kind of if it got out. Also, all I ever wanted to do in my whole life was work in sports, and I was too much of a turd to really do anything when I was younger. It wasn't until I got older I was like, I should maybe make some moves to do this because I've only been talking about it my entire life. So, yeah, well, I think
Justin, I'm curious. You're saying in some ways you're not looking forward to your 30s. I'm curious what it is you think that you're not looking forward to. Feel free to comment live. I mean, is there anything, Matt, that you feel like you are better at in your 30s than your 20s?
Yeah, I think I would need to think about that a little bit. I feel like I've always been, and I'm horrible at talking good about myself. I'm much better at making fun of myself, but I've generally given pretty good advice.
Self-talk. Look, as a guy who's been in therapy for years, positive self-talk. All right.
Yeah. I think I've always generally been pretty sensible in terms of like giving advice and stuff. I feel like I never really would always listen to it myself. I would tell other people like now I'll give good advice. Right. What I'm better at now, I think the biggest thing I think is just being like kind of comfortable in like your interest in what you like and what you don't like. And like, I don't like the taste of beer. I like appletini. I'm comfortable enough to say that. In college,
you're like JD from Scrubs.
It's exactly it. It's exactly it. We had my engagement
Appletini. When did they start drinking straight drinks?
Yeah. Oh, that's good, dude. Scrubs is what my like favorite show. You are just saying the perfect thing. Yeah, my engagement party 2 weeks ago, my signature drink was an appletini.
Love it. Do you, man?
Yeah, and I think that's probably. I would need to think about it a lot more. What I'm better at now than I was. There are obviously answers to it. Not looking forward to having to work much harder than I do now. I think working hard's overrated. I think working smart is underrated. I think. Well, go ahead. I have my thoughts on it.
No. The house thing. You're just. I mean, You're
Don't think
22.
about that when you're 22.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
you're 22, so like the market is horrible right now. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I mean, you're actually probably fortunate by the time you're at an age where you would want to seriously look for a home. I would think mortgage rates wouldn't be 8.5. So like
You would think. Yeah.
you would be okay. Yeah, I mean the other stuff, look, like you work hard in your 20s. Like it is what it is, right? Like that's just how it is. When I was 20s, now my situation may be a little different, right? Because I was working for a television station, I was working overnights, odd hours, covering sports, traveling with the Packers, like doing all that nonsense, right? So you're working 60-hour weeks. It is what it is. But yeah, as you get older and you have more responsibilities, and in most cases, like my own, I ended up dating somebody seriously, getting married, having a kid. Like you no longer want to work that life because you have other things that have now overtaken work in a hierarchy. But in your 20s, I don't think there's anything wrong with busting your ass working hard. I'm not saying you're not doing those things. I'm sure you are. But to me, I was in the grind. I was just like, this is what I have to do to get to where I want to go. So I'm going to go do it. Now,
Sure.
people 10, 15 years younger than me may not have that same thought, and that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, my advice certainly isn't don't work hard. My advice is, I think a lot of times, I mean, yours is different because you working hard is like you're on TV and like you have to do that stuff. I think a lot of times people just come in early and stay late just because they feel like they have to. And I feel like a lot of times grind culture is a crock of shit. Like I'm not saying like get your work done, but I also feel like if you don't have work to do, then enjoy that. Like, I don't know, like I think one of my friends, he like brags about how he works like 80 hours of overtime every pay period. And I'm like, congratulations. Your life sounds miserable.
What does he do?
He's like somewhat customer service for like tech companies. I know the industry really well. It's where I used to work before I did this stuff full time. Basically, yeah, it's a whole thing, but he gets paid for working overtime. So it's not like a total waste, but it's also like, that sounds miserable.
It's industry specific too. So much is industry specific. I mean, especially if you're in a content related field. I mean, being on TV, like people will notice if you've called out that day. So that is for sure. No, and I agree with you. That is a total insecurity. Yeah. Again, I also think this is a generational thing too. It's generational specific. It's also industry specific because if you work at a job where 500 people are waiting for you to leave so they can take your job, it's not like a sales job.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, depending on the content world, you kind of have to grind. That just kind of is what it is. I feel like, I don't know, a lot of jobs you can probably still be a plus employee while not working 60-hour weeks.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Just get your work done, work smart.
I like this. I like this. We just did 10 minutes on this. I think we should make this a staple. Let's put out the call. I don't know what we call it, but we'll
workshop it. We'll talk offline. Yeah. I also someone had a good idea in my live stream I did yesterday that I should wear a different hat for every show, and people send me hats that I wear. So maybe that's something that I'll start doing.
Yeah. As long as they're not pre-worn.
Yeah, that's the rule. Yeah. And it'll be anything. It could be a James Harden hat. My friend said he's going to find a James Harden hat and send it to me.
I'm not going to do that. Don't send me that.
Well, Justin says definitely should be a staple. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Justin.
Viewership did not tank during this time period. So I think that's a good sign. Good. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, Dan, that was a fun little, does an unexpected turn we took. I like it. We'll definitely have to workshop this moving forward. Maybe get the higher ups on it. We'll make it official thing.
Sure.
But for tonight, go Titans, go points. And yeah, that's all I got. Appreciate everybody for joining.
See you next time.